Hazel and I just finished watching the Cowboy game. I'm wiped out. She's wiped out because she knew I was wiped out. I'd hold up my arms, but I tell you, they're pitted out. I'm sweating. I thought Detroit would win this game. I didn't think we were ready for Detroit, and Detroit should have won this game. And I'm still not convinced about the call at the end that saved us from losing by a point when Dan Campbell went for the point, the 2-point conversion. And it sure looks to me like both linemen were trying to report, and Brad Allen, the head referee, acknowledged Decker. But even though Skipper was there, Skip got saved by Skipper, Brad Allen ignores him somehow, even though he was there to report, and he didn't make a big thing out of it because obviously he didn't want to tip off the Cowboys. Hazel just said she had enough of this video. And Brad Allen goes to tell the Cowboys who is eligible and did not obviously say that Dan Skipper was eligible. He's 6 feet 10 inches tall. Once an undrafted free agent who signed with the Cowboys, and he catches the 2-point conversion, and I thought, well, I lost just like I thought I would, but we won. There was so much to love about what happened. There was so much not to love about what happened, but we won. And you saw the firepower on both sides of the ball. The defense played well enough that's a Super Bowl defense. My takeaway is we're right where we need to be. Bring on San Francisco. I'm ready.
Strange. Lions looked like they had a walk-off 2-point conversion or close to a walk-off, nullified. Then the Cowboys commit a penalty. And then the Lions, I would have kicked the PAT and get it to overtime. Dallas, I've come to the conclusion of what we watched tonight. Strange game. 800 yards of offense. Both teams averaged almost 6.5 yards of play. And it was 20-19. So I thought it was going to be a shootout. The yards would indicate, and the yards per play would indicate it was a shootout. But you have a fumble by CeeDee Lamb near the goal line, little miscues here and there. I think what we watched tonight, beyond a strange game, was two good teams. Neither team to me is good enough to go on the road and win a big playoff game. Although I'll tell you, I thought about this tonight. I think I like Detroit more than Dallas. One of the reasons I like Michigan to win the national championship is because I've watched Texas, Washington, and Alabama each play at least 5 times. I've watched Michigan play probably 7. Every time I watch Michigan play, I get the exact same game. Alabama's offense is hit and miss. Washington's defense is hit and miss. Texas, both sides hit and miss. I get the same performance every time from Michigan. When I watch the Detroit Lions, there are things they consistently do. They consistently have 2 good running backs. Gibbs he is special. He may not be Adrian Peterson as a rookie, but that guy is special. Jahmyr Gibbs. He just doesn't look like a lot of other running backs. He's not Christian McCaffrey yet, but he has a burst and strength and quickness that is different. I get explosiveness out of the backfield with Detroit. I get a veteran quarterback, generally with time to throw, who's accurate. I get the best rookie tight end in a long time. And I get a good pass rush. They have flaws, but I know what I'm getting with Detroit. And some of those things travel well. A run game, a great O-line. I kind of know what I get. I also get a very, very risk-comfortable head coach. I mean, we all know Dan Campbell. He's the most aggressive coach in the league. So aggressive coach, run game, pass protection, great tight end. I feel like I get that every game with Detroit, win or lose. They're better at home than on the road, but they could have won this game tonight. I think both of these are good teams. Dallas is the opposite of Michigan football. And they don't give me the consistency of Detroit. They can't run the ball now. I mean, the offensive line's gotten worse. It's banged up. They can't run the ball. I had said I pled with Dallas at the trade deadline. Go get Derrick Henry. Go get a power back. Go get a number one. Don't get a guy you have to pay a fortune to for years. Go get Derrick Henry for a year. Give up a couple of picks, maybe a year and a half. Tony Pollard's a 2. I mean, tonight, he was the 3rd best running back in the game. I mean, Montgomery, Gibbs, then Tony Pollard. So you're just talking about a very, very, he's a number 3 starter. He's not even a number 2 starter in Major League Baseball. He's a 3. So Tony Pollard was a nice change of pace when Zeke was closer to his prime. He's just a guy. And he doesn't look like he's got quite the burst. He certainly doesn't have the burst of Jahmyr Gibbs. Forget it. Different class of running back. The pass protection for Dallas is usually good. It was spotty tonight. About the only thing I know I get with Dallas is CeeDee Lamb is a terrific top 5, 6 receiver in the league. That I know. But even the secondary, they get torched. Deron Bland, come on. I mean, he is fun. He can play, takes big swings, but he gets burned too. He's not a top 5 corner in the league. I can't trust him. And Micah Parsons is a great athlete, and CeeDee Lamb is a tremendous receiver. But Dak's hot and cold. And Dak needs, come on, at this point in his career, Detroit's got 1 timeout left. There's under 2 minutes, and Dak's flinging it out of bounds. What are you doing? Come on, Dak. I mean, it's one thing with Mike McCarthy. None of us trust him situationally. I think Mike's a good coach, but we don't trust him situationally. But Dak's got to pick that up. He can't be in this league for, I mean, just certain things. I don't care if you're a trial attorney. I don't care if you're a landscaper, a quarterback. There's certain things right? Like you don't, you just don't, you don't throw it away and stop the clock for Detroit when they got 1 timeout left and they have to drive down the field. What are you doing? So, if you told me Dallas or Detroit right now to win a playoff game, to win 2 playoff games, don't know if either will, but I would take Detroit. It's the same reason I like Michigan to win the Natty. When you get into the postseason, what do you consistently deliver? You're going to have to lean on that stuff. Man, I don't know what Dallas gives me beyond an unbelievable receiver and an unbelievable pass rusher in Micah Parsons. That's just personnel. But what do they give you? Do they give you great first halves? Do they give you a great run game? Do they give you dependability in the clutch? No. Don't check any of those boxes. They're lucky tonight. They should have lost that football game. Detroit, apparently a Lions offensive lineman didn't check himself into the game, although there seemed to be some dispute on the Lions sideline. They were pissed. They were angry as if they'd done it right. Seems to me I agree with Troy Aikman. If you're going to run that play at that time, you're going to check with the officials. Don't love that call deciding the game. But I've really lost. I got sucked in by Dallas. 25 years I didn't buy it. They reeled me in, about week 10 through about week 13, they reeled me in. And they are, I feel like I get less consistency every week. Hey, everybody gets fooled once in a while. I've been fooled by them. I don't think Dallas can win 2 playoff games. Not 2 road playoff games. Just can't. Just don't trust them. Detroit's got a division title. They'll get a home playoff game. My guess is they'll win it, even if it's the hot Rams. And I could see Detroit. I could. Philadelphia is not consistent enough offensively, has some holes in the back end. There are worse things in the world than the Lions getting to the NFC Championship. I want to say this about Jimmy Johnson getting into the Ring of Honor. There's an understanding at Fox Sports. I don't think this is a big secret that on the Terry, Jay Glazer, Howie, Michael Strahan, Kurt Menefee, Jimmy Johnson Sunday show, that Jimmy, once a coach, always a coach, is really the glue that holds that show together. That, he's on the set, he kind of organizes all of it, and you could see him take, the field tonight and the microphone, and, he's the man of the moment. He's very good at that. I've been at 2 or 3 dinners with Jimmy Johnson and the fellas. He kind of takes control of the room. That's what coaches do. Jimmy is in a really rarefied class, dominated college and dominated the NFL. There's just not a lot of Jimmys out there. I mean, most of these college coaches, even the great ones, Spurrier, Saban, Urban, it just doesn't work. Pete Carroll dominated college football for a few years. I don't think he's ever dominated the NFL, but he's certainly a good high-end NFL coach. But Jimmy's very unique. And when I used to work on the Sunday show, Jimmy was always the first to arrive. I had to arrive because my show was on earlier by an hour than him. So I would get in early. Our crew got in early, and Jimmy would be there by himself. He'd walk from the hotel in the wee hours of the morning, always the first to arrive. And after putting makeup on and prepping, I'd go in and have about 10 minutes, and I just pepper him with questions, and just always had great stories. Some I can repeat, some I can't. Any question you had about football, he was like a mentor. And I always appreciate that. I always appreciate, when they take time. I'm a pain in the butt. I'm just trying to figure out football and football philosophies. So Jimmy could tell you everything from recruiting high school players. I think he would have been great in the transfer portal. NFL. We talk about position coaches, hardest to find, easiest to find.
Ryan Wilson, the Lions playoff right now looks like they will be the 3 seed.
Yep.
BMAC, this is the situation they are in. They are staring down a matchup against the quarterback they drafted and traded away in Matthew Stafford and the Rams. We heard Dan Campbell post-game say we're going to see the Cowboys again, which tells us, and that's not surprising, he is so confident they're winning their wild card game, BMAC.
I love it. Now, maybe he's caught up in the emotions of what just took place, but he's putting it on paper. He's putting it on wax for all of us to talk about. I would love to see that matchup. Honestly, when you talk about the relationships with Matthew Stafford being drafted, as Hakeem mentioned, to the Detroit Lions, being traded away. You talk about Brad Holmes, who's currently the GM for the Detroit Lions, who's been doing a wonderful job, by the way. Used to be with the Rams organization as well. So this would be an ideal matchup because I love what I'm seeing, especially coming from the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford. And Sean McVay has done a great job coaching. I feel like, outside of Kevin Stefanski, I think Sean McVay has really displayed the best coaching job in the National Football League when you talk about the success they've had in doing more with less, with the guys who we really didn't know anything about until the games have been played, and now we know exactly who Puka Nacua is, Kyron Williams, and some other young players as well that have service. So this would be an ideal matchup, but it seems like if it was to happen, it doesn't matter. The Detroit Lions will win and get ready for the Dallas Cowboys in the next round based on what Dan Campbell just gave all of us.
So if that matchup does in fact happen, BMAC, that'll be two of the best draft classes to come out of last April and early May because both the Lions and the Rams crushed it. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because you guys just spent a lot of time talking about what happened at the end of that game. And while you were talking, Mike Garafolo of NFL Network reported that here's what happened. I'll just give you guys the beans so you can figure it out now instead of waiting afterwards and looking at it on Twitter. So both Decker and Skipper approached the official. Decker said, "I'm going in." And they both approached to confuse the Cowboys. The official misheard, thought it was Skipper number 70. Skipper said, "I didn't say a word." And when when the official went over to tell Dan Campbell about it after the play, he said it was number 70. And that was the confusion. And the irony is, if you go back to that first Cowboys-Eagles game, the Cowboys had a touchdown taken off the board midway through the fourth quarter because of a miscommunication from the officials about who was eligible and who wasn't. Just to clear that up, because I don't think this affects the Lions in any way, shape, or form. I applaud Dan Campbell for having the guts to go for it there. And I think what he was saying as they continue to back up on that two-point conversion is that I'm riding with you guys, not just tonight, but into January football. And I think this is what they're going to lean on when they get to what will probably be, Akeem, as you pointed out, the number 3 seed. I think they're fine with that. I think they're fine with the home playoff game. And I think they're fine with the way this team is coming together. The defense has to play better. And we saw glimpses of that tonight. That was the first time the Cowboys had not scored more than 30 points at home. And they should have won that football game. And you talked about it earlier, Akeem. Mike McCarthy got bailed out, partly by the officials and partly by the play calls and then by the Lions there. But I feel pretty good about where the Lions are. I think this loss is something they're going to be galvanized by in Detroit, and it'll serve them well.